My name is Vangmar, and I was born in 1953 at Ban Pakho, Luang Prabang, Laos, to the family of Vangmar Vang and Mai Song Hyong. I have one older brother and one sister, named Tulu Vang and my Vang. They both passed away due to black magic. So 2 years later, when I was born, I was immediately adopted by my uncle Chok Sa, and were not allowed to wander his house, outside his house, for a period of 12 months. In that case, I have to have 2 nanny, and including my mom, to look after me for a 12-month period. I was not an average Hmong boy. Sort of very bossy and very active. I like playing with all dangerous objects, right? Like climb up the tree, swing the vine like a Tarzan, and then also use a lot of sharp objects like a metal school. As those early days, we don't have any toy, so we play with those skills. We throw all the skill actually to a target. Each of us rushing to have a look, and as I bend down, and one other skill actually caught my eyes in, right? And it's scarred for life. It's lucky that it doesn't touch my pupil, otherwise I'll be blind. And then soon after that, after I just turned 4, my father passed away due to black magic as well. I have a younger brother named Vang. He was born 2 years after me. And that is all in our family. So we have 2 brothers, 2 living brothers, mom and dad. Then at that time, I just turned 4 and my younger brother just turned 2. My father passed away due to black magic. So the black magic was meant for my uncle, but somehow it caught my father. He passed away. Then my uncle thought that location there is not too good, so we moved further down to another village. But a year later, the black magic caught after him too, and he passed away as well. At the age of almost like 5 and a half, I was without parents, without father figure to look after me, so no guardian. Therefore, from that time onwards, I make every decision, any decision for myself. Right? I taught myself how to write on the Lao alphabet on the wall, and I taught myself how to ride bicycle, bike, and motorbike, and even car. When I go older, the car and motorbike at a later age, but I just mentioned earlier. Then basically we start school at the grade 1 in 1959. But just after a year and a couple months, and because the war come to that village, so we were forced to move to downtown Luang Prabang. And without for the whole year we have no school, right? And then we have to go to an intensive basically training. Then the real primary school start in grade 4. Right? I spent grade 4, 5, and 6. Right, in those early days, and then after the grade 6, we actually sit for the exam to go to high school, Lycée de Luang Prabang. And actually, I got a scholarship. And that particular year there, because I was the older of the group, we have about 6 or 7 children living with my older cousin, like Shulong Wang. Right, then I worked too hard and basically had to pick water for the well slowly. Also cook the rice, make the fire, everything, and also at the same time, Shulong Wang was very heavily involved in trafficking opium, and then basically I have no time, and then my study went back to from grade 1 or from rank 1, from number 1 to number 5. So I decided I would sort of have to go somewhere. Then I sit for the exam to go to a teacher training in Dong Dok, Vientiane, Laos, and also elsewhere, and I passed both. So in 1967, the year of 1967-68, I went to Dong Dok, to teacher training college, from there I do for first years and second year. Then I see the exam to study overseas. Basically, we secretly sit for the exam because at the teacher training college, we are not allowed to sit for the exam to go overseas. Right? But we secretly sit for the exam, and I passed. So that's why in 1971 I came to Australia. I won the Columbo Plan scholarship, and I came to Australia. When I got a scholarship, then we came to Australia. And as those days we are very young, about just turning 16, and all of us, each person, each student had to live with a foster parent. I was lucky enough to have to live with another foster parent, Mr. and Mrs. Bulling, in 1971. They treat you like a son. Basically, the government paid them to look after you, to feed you, to clothe you, to buy bicycle for you to go to school. So I spent the whole 3 years at the Dawes Road High School in South Australia. Right? Then because when we were at the high school, every year we were allowed to go back to Laos. So I went there in 1971, at the end of 1971, 72 and 73. So 73 is the last time I was in Laos. Then when I come back, well, after 73 I come back, then I went to university. So once you got to the university, then you have to finish your course before you will actually go back to Laos. But unfortunately, Laos fall to the communist hand. So we just could not go back. That is why we stay in Australia. So that year, about 1977, right? And I got a message, not really a message, but it's like my mom asking me that it's time for me to settle down, right, to get married. So I decided, I said, okay, we'll look for a bride. But at that time I got a few girlfriends as well. So, but she stressed that if I marry a non-Hmong, that she cannot communicate with her. So I have to marry a Hmong. Then I went to France to holiday, basically to look for a bride or a prospect bride. I met several girls, including some of the former Lao politicians' daughter or nieces, but somehow it doesn't click. Then I decided to come back to Australia. It's sometime in August, early July 1978, via Thailand. And I got to Melbourne in 1978, back to Melbourne, Victoria, basically Melbourne, in 1978. And at that time there, actually my future wife, family came to Australia, because Dr. Powell, Uncle Powell sponsored them. He took me there to see them, and then I met her. I met her, I met all the family. At that time I didn't think of anything. I thought, she was too young. Then we, basically the reason I come back to Melbourne there is that we started to decide to form the association called Hmong Australian Society at that time in 1978. Then after after the association formed, I went back to South Australia to work. And I worked because Uncle Shillong at that time, he actually had been sponsored by us, by me and my cousin to live in there. Then I just worked normally, and then because there's no more people in South Australia, except only one family. So in early 1979, Columbo Plan actually decided, that there's no more in South Australia. So he decided to move to Melbourne, basically Victoria, and he left, for Melbourne 2 months before, or just about, not 2 months, about a month before I decided to actually come over. basically when I come over, actually to find a place, to rent a place for him. And then after I come there, then I met my wife again in the second time. And I still think that she was too young at that time. Okay. And I didn't know that I was also meant to be together. Then I went back to work in South Australia, and then Shilong Wang said, "Oh, you know, it's actually they run into a lot of problems in Melbourne here, you know, because there's no more interpreter. There's even though there are more people here, but no one to help. So, you know, they had to ask me." And my cousin, at that time, we both lived there, you know, his son, asked him to come over to Melbourne. So I said, well, you know, we work. We cannot just drop one job and run to the next. And then he said, no matter what, you have to come over. And I decided to come over to have see what problem, what can I solve. Then at the same time, I spent a few days in Melbourne, and I found my job. Myself a job in Melbourne as well, at Class B industry. So then just decided, okay, to move over to Melbourne. And then at the end of 1979, so I moved to Melbourne, and then I start to not go out, but to go often to see my future bride, and that's when it started. And we end up married in August 16. In 1980, and it's a traditional Hmong marriage time. And then we want to have the white wedding, but it's just unlucky that my father-in-law passed away. So according to the tradition, we have to wait for 12 months before we can have a proper wedding. And then somehow, we slipped back to April 10, 1982, which that was the white wedding take place. And at that time, my father-in-law already passed away, but it was the first Hmong white wedding in Australia. That was really the white wedding, and we have the music. We have the people come from all over the places, Sydney, Canberra, Hobart, everything come to Melbourne. At that time, also have a lot of Laotian friends. Everybody come to the party. And including other associations like the Salvation Army people, the Oscar, a few other people also come there. And it's a good wedding at that time. So actually it was a very good wedding type of that, and your mom and I went to basically have honeymoon in Queensland, and also we went to America as well. And at that time there, it was the third time that I met General Wang Pao at that time, okay? And then when he realized that we was his relative, and we had a good time with him. Then when we returned back, I just wanted to go to work no more, it's just as usual. And then the two boys come along. I got two sons. The first one is Ogie, and was born in 1983, and Austin was born in 1984. And we decided, when the boy was too young, so my wife cannot work. So basically, we decided, okay, we have to do something. So that's why we just get the shop, milk bar, like an Asian grocery type. And then when she look after the shop as well as look after the boy. But just and then I went to work. Normally, I work 5 days, and sometimes even I work Saturday too, depending on the work. It works because I become sort of like a close friend with a lot of people there. And then most of the time I just bring all the work to work at home. I work as a cost and accounting assistant. And most of the time I take all the work at home because I know perfectly well what it's a company called Pura Milk at that time, and in Broadmeadow. And then it's just unlucky that in 1987, and then my wife actually went to the shop by herself because the shop is not closed, so I had to catch a train there. And then we decided that the two boys and me were too tired, and we will go there later. Normally we did that, but we just catch a train after that, and then night time we come home together. But at that particular time there, the Chinese shop or cigarette owners, call us, saying that okay, I ordered some cigarette from him, and he said, yeah, it's ready. So we decided to pick it up, but it's just what happened, and then the accident took place. And then we go down, actually travel on St. George Road, actually to go to Richmond at that time, right? And on the roundabout, because there's only one way to go there, right? Either left or right. So we decided to turn left, and then somehow a semi-trailer, traveled opposite direction and caught my van on the mirror and just pushed us down. It's not really a big accident, but basically the semi-trailer is too big, and they pushed all of us down. And at that time, Austin and Augustine, two boys, were behind me. They're both on the buckle seat, but somehow it hit so hard that Austin, the younger boy, got a broken skull, and the older one, basically just it's a brain injury. Basically, it's a close injury. And from that time on, they basically at the accident, I was the one who actually instruct all the paramedic and also the firefighter actually to take the boy out and then take me to the hospital. And I think the two boys, firstly they went to Patch, which is Preston Hospital first. That was transferred to Children's Hospital, Royal Children's Hospital, right? And then they become unconscious for 24 hours. I was immediately taken to the St. Vincent Hospital, and it took me, I think it took them about 7 hours to operate me. And it was lucky that at that time I got broken arm, broken leg, knee, and a lot of, but it doesn't sort of touch my head at all. So I was conscious. Then I can tell them what to do. I have to sign my own permission, for operation. And when I think my wife at that time was probably in a shock condition. When two boy was in the hospital, she crying. Basically, by the time she got to me, it's about 6 or 7 hours later. And then when they finished operating me, then it took about 7 hours for them to operate me. And then I was in the recovery room, and then the first thing I saw is her. She was there. So that is an accident. It was very lucky that we survived. When you look at the van, everything like that, it's just a miracle. So from that time onwards, my life changed. Basically, I cannot go back to work, because I cannot live things. I stay in the hospital for 3.5 months. Just cannot work. And from that, I just do an odd job, something like that. But the determination that my wife and I at that time had to decide, okay, we got to do something. So that's why we went to the property marketing and started buying house. I cannot remember actually very well, but as I turning up 50, almost 50, I went to work normally, and then I just got a little bit pain in my chest. And I thought, oh, it's normal because I do sort of heavy lifting. And the supervisor said, hey, why don't you go to check in the hospital? And then I don't have any sort of holiday, so basically I just said, yeah, let's go check. I drove myself to the hospital, and then I was found out that I have a blockage in my artery. So basically it's a severe one. So the doctor said, the hospital, Northern Hospital in Epping, the doctor especially, they say, no, I'm not allowed to go back. Basically, you got to do something. And I was end up, bypass. And since that time, everything actually got worse. Basically, I cannot work, I cannot basically live any heavy thing. So is actually a paralyzed person, all right, a disabled person at that time. But I don't get up, even all my arms, the doctor said, no, you cannot even move your arm, I see all the skull here. And the knee thing like that, they say, I cannot even, they have no guarantee. Right? But I told the doctor, they decide to operate. I told them, just give me another 2 weeks, something like that. And I work on myself very hard on my arm, like that. And a week later, the doctor discovered, it's amazing. They are recovering quite well. But even the recovery is fine. And at that time, my son actually went to Australia to study law in Canberra. And actually, I think he was a bit at that time. So he took a year off as well. But even the recovery is going well. But, I cannot work anymore. Basically, you cannot lift anything heavy. And then you have no strength in the leg, no strength in the arm. And basically, I just work offshore job, from in the weekend from there, and that's it. So, but it's luckily that we got a few property, and basically that our property rental income from the property, and give up enough finance to support us, So that's what happened in those days. Nowadays, in 2018, basically I'm turning 65. Even though in my heart I still feel that I was young. All right, even my appearance, people look at me, oh, he's about 50. But in real term, I'm 65. I will be 65. And now, even though my heart's saying that, okay, I look 50, I don't believe that at 65. But when the time comes, when the age catch you up, the energy level is just no longer there. Basically, you just become forgetful. You want to do more things. Basically, get frustrated. You don't have the strength to do as much as you want to do. All right. But lucky, I'm glad that I'm still be able to travel the world. Went to America several times. Went to see all the relatives and there. I went to other places, Thailand, Laos, all the places I need to go to see. Okay. So basically, when you turn 65, then you realize that your time is actually too short. So my advice, basically just want to leave it for my children. So basically, not for everybody else, but for my children. If you want to do something, you do it now. Don't wait until tomorrow. Okay? Because life is too short. And then you want to study more, you do it now. You want to invest, you invest now. You want to do anything, you do it now. So don't wait until tomorrow. Thank you for listening to me.